Equus-listed VVV Resources, epic code VVV, recently acquired the Mitterberg project, a brownfield copper project in the Eastern Alps region of Austria. The project went through a rigorous due diligence process prior to the acquisition, overseen by Executive Chairman Jim Williams, who joins me today. Hello, Jim. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Alan. Yourself?
I'm very good, thanks. So, Jim, the Mitterberg project looks really exciting. Can you tell me why VVV has shifted its focus to Austria?
Well, first, I wouldn't say VVV has shifted the focus. The Mitterberg project has been on the cards, certainly since my tenure with the company exactly 12 months ago. It was on it's been on my to-do list ever since then. Now, the previous agreement regarding Mitterberg was overly complicated and tied up with an existing project, which we'll come on to later, called Shangri-La in the middle of Western Australian desert. But the transaction proposed at the time was overly complicated, and because it tied in the remaining 49% of Shangri-La, it didn't really work as far as I was concerned, having one project in Western Australia and then one project in Austria. So thankfully, conditions precedent were not met on that previous sales and purchase agreement, and the new one now, which has been consummated, is all set up and ready to go.
Excellent. Okay. So another English and Austrian company called Eco Metal are also operating in the region, and they recently reported some good copper grades from their Grossal license area. Now, I understand you liaised with the chief executive of that company, Liam Hardy, as part of your due diligence?
Yes, I have. I haven't personally met Liam Hardy. Coincidentally, when I was in Austria, I think it was a few months ago now, word doesn't take long to get out. There's a newcomer on the ground in Austria. And Liam Hardy actually contacted me whilst I was in Austria by email through a mutual friend who was based in London. Anyway, so we touched base. We've been back and forth since on email and WhatsApp. We haven't actually spoken as yet. But if anything, I've actually gone onto the Eco Metal website this morning to be up to date. And they're a private company. They have a valuation of some £4.8 million, 95 million shares issued. If anything, this gives a very good yardstick for VVV, which of course has a market cap right now way lower than that. I don't wish to be seen to be misrepresenting Eco Metal, but it would be interesting to see, for example, if they were on the Aquis Exchange, what that market would value them at.
Of course. So, Jim, what's the near-term plan of action, and also what milestones should investors look out for?
Well, Alan, I think the first milestone, to achieve the first milestone, is to raise some finance. Then get the team built in Austria. I will go back out and obviously work with the team to be built. Look at all the historic data, evaluate the historic data, concurrently look at Landsat imaging, look where mineralization may extend to, bearing in mind things like Landsat, satellite imaging, and all the clever techniques associated are really semi-qualitative and semi-quantitative. So it doesn't give a definitive answer if there's copper mineralization there. It will indicate if the potential host rock is there. So then after that's done, go on the ground, follow up as and when required, and take it forward. So bearing in mind, as we achieve all these little increments in building, get the news out there and gather traction.
Okay. And just on these pictures here, very quickly, can you tell us what we're looking at to the right? There are two smaller images. Obviously, the Alps looks beautiful, but the two images on the right?
Yeah, so the upper right, from my point of view, is an old spoil dump. So this is indicative of the historic mining. So basically, for those who don't know, Mitterberg in Austria started mining about 3,000 years ago. So, and off and on up until 1977. Now, in 1977, the copper prices were deemed to be too low to make it economic. So copper prices are now generally on an upward projection. So, hence the exploration upside of this project. So that spoil tip is all the waste discarded rock, which was uneconomic at the time. And for example, the bottom slide with the hammer is a typical metamorphic rock containing the chalcopyrite, which is the main copper mineral in this mineral assemblage.
Okay, that's great. That's really helpful. Thanks. So moving on, Jim, 2 questions for you. VVV also has the Shangri-La project, which we touched on at the start. This is a copper and gold project in Western Australia. So firstly, what are your longer term plans for that project? And also, do you have any further acquisitions lined up in Austria at the moment?
Well, at the moment, we only own 51% of the Shangri-La license. Now, bearing in mind, Shangri-La, as it stands, is only 10 hectares in size. And for comparison purposes, that's kind of 5 football pitches stuck together, right? Given where it is, it's logistically difficult. You have to fly there, really. Otherwise, you got a couple of days drive, okay? Either way. And for 10 hectares of ground. So VVV had done this deal with the private company in Western Australia, Perth-based, called Goldfields Sorrento. So this was a pre-existing project. In fact, until Mitterberg came along last week, this was the only project they had, or we have, sorry. So it's still there. What I would like to do, and what I have been trying to do from day one, is get the same vendors, Sorrento Goldfields, okay, who own the surrounding exploration license, to vend that in concurrently with the remaining 49% of Shangri-La. Then you have this much bigger ground position, whereby it's more sellable, more doable, not so high risk with the infrastructure involved to go all that way for 10 hectares. And also my fear is that if, for example, we acquire the remaining 49% of Shangri-La in this current form, we do the work proves very positive, then we can bet the bottom dollar on the surrounding ground, the EL, the exploration license, will increase in cost. So if there's a deal to be done, personally, I'd like to do it now concurrently with the further acquisition of the remaining 49%.
Okay, thank you for that. So onto the markets now. Of course, resource stocks are enduring a difficult run at the moment. That's no secret. But of course, the market capitalization for VVV is just 384,000, which is probably the lowest I've seen for a listed mining and resources company. What's your take on this?
Well, Alan, with all due respect, I have to correct you there. It was £350,000 approximately until earlier this week. The shares issued for Mitterberg have now been admitted to trading. So now we have about 6.7 million shares at 10p. So the market cap is obviously just short of £700,000 at the moment. But
okay,
I hear what you're saying. You've hit the nail on the head. This market cap is quite frankly abysmal. And when we mentioned Eco Metals before, and so their privatized valuation as a good yardstick of £4.6 million, just shows the upside potential for VVV Resources.
Okay, Jim, thank you for that. So what does the funding position look like at the moment for VVV?
Well, as I mentioned previously, we have to go and raise some money right now to do the work we envisage in Austria, and if necessary, on Shangri-La. But unless the vendors of the remaining part of Shangri-La can kind of meet our agenda, I think the focus has to be on Austria. Austria, the Mitterberg project is 90 square kilometers or thereabouts. Infrastructure is fantastic. Metal roads, easy flights in and out. compared with Australia, for example.
Well, Jim, it looks as though VVV are certainly at the start of a very exciting journey. I look forward to speaking with you again as the project develops. So my thank you to Jim Williams for joining us today, and look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you, Alan. Always a pleasure.